Welcome to Childhood and the Enneagram, Stories That Shape Us. I'm Susan Parker Jones, licensed therapist, Enneagram practitioner, and author of The Wholehearted Child. In this podcast, we explore how our earliest childhood experiences shape the way we see ourselves, others, and the world, and how the harmony model of the Enneagram can help us heal, grow, and guide the next generation with greater clarity and compassion. Whether you're a parent, educator, therapist, or someone simply ready to rewrite your own childhood story, you're in the right place. So grab your coffee, hit subscribe, and join me, because the stories we carry don't have to define us. We have the power to heal, to grow, and to impact the next generation. I'm Susan Parker Jones, and I'm truly grateful you're here, giving yourself the gift of time and reflection. Today, I want to invite you to see behavior in a way that might gently transform the way you relate to your child and maybe even the way you relate to yourself. Because behavior, whether it's a tantrum, a slammed door in frustration, or even a smile, is not the full story. Behavior is only the very tip of the iceberg. And when we begin to look beneath the surface, everything about the way we respond can shift. For many of us, childhood meant learning that certain behaviors were good and others were bad. Behave and you were praised. Act out and you were punished, shamed, or even emotionally withdrawn from. But what if behavior isn't the real target at all? What if behavior is simply the outer signal of something deeper happening inside? Every challenging moment, every emotional storm, every misstep are invitations to understand, not just to correct. That shift from correcting to understanding can be life-changing. Behavior is communication. When a child yells, slams doors, refuses to make eye contact, or talks back, it's easy to label the behavior as defiant, disrespectful, and rude. When a child hits, yells, runs away, shuts down, refuses to listen, they're communicating something. I feel unsafe. I feel overwhelmed. I don't know how to get my needs met. I don't have the words yet for my big feelings. When we meet that behavior with punishment alone, we silence the communication without addressing the need. But if we stay curious and look under the waterline, we might see something else. Fear, shame, overwhelm, a desperate need for connection, or a nervous system flooded beyond what the brain can handle. Behavior is the language a child uses when their emotional vocabulary isn't strong enough to name what's happening inside. It's the way their body says, "I need something," even when their words haven't caught up. When was the last time you saw a behavior, whether from your child, a student, or yourself, that triggered you? What story did you immediately tell yourself about that behavior? Our nervous system plays a huge role in how behavior shows up. When a child's nervous system senses threat, whether it's a real danger or just emotional discomfort, it shifts into survival mode. In survival mode, kids fight, flee, or freeze. Some yell or argue in fight mode. Some run away, shut down, or disappear emotionally, flight or freeze. And here's the tender truth. Their nervous system isn't asking, "Is this appropriate behavior?" It's asking, "Am I safe?" When we respond only to surface behavior, we often miss the chance to answer that deeper question. A stubborn refusal might mean, "I'm afraid of failing and protecting myself." A meltdown at bedtime might mean, "Separation feels scary to me." Trust-Based Relational Intervention teaches us that before a child can reason, they must feel safe. When we use co-regulation strategies like deep breathing together, firm but gentle touch, and calm presence, we help the child's nervous system shift from survival mode back to learning mode. And only then can teaching, discipline, or reflection actually land. Let me share a story with you. Marcus, was 7 years old and constantly getting into trouble at school. Every day, he seemed to bring home yet another report, talking back to the teacher, refusing to sit still, throwing pencils across the room. At first glance, it looked like defiance and disrespect. But when we slowed everything down and got curious about what was beneath the surface, here's what we found. Marcus had experienced significant transitions: his parents' divorce, a cross-country move, and starting a brand new school where he felt lost and isolated. Throwing the pencil wasn't about disrespecting the teacher. It was about expressing powerlessness that he didn't have the words to name. Through simple strategies, his parents and teachers shifted their approach. They used morning connection rituals before school, movement breaks during the day instead of punishments, and a safe signal that Marcus could use when he felt overwhelmed. The transition wasn't instant, but it was real. Less fighting, more communication, and slowly a boy who had been seen as defiant became the boy who was simply hurting and healing. By giving his story a voice through therapy, he was able to work through his fear and grief. When you meet behavior with curiosity instead of judgment, something sacred happens. You move from asking, "How do I stop this? How do I control this?" to asking, "What is my child needing right now that they don't know how to ask for?" When we meet it with curiosity, connection, and co-regulation, we say, "I see you. I hear the need underneath, and let's work through this together." You begin to see discipline not as punishment, but as teaching. And you start seeing yourself differently too. Because the truth is, we all have behaviors. We all sometimes yell when we're afraid. We all sometimes withdraw when we're hurting. We're not so different from our children, after all. I want to invite you to reflect one more time. Think about a behavior you were shamed for having as a child. Maybe it was crying too much. Maybe it was getting angry too easily. Maybe it was needing too much reassurance. What was really happening underneath that behavior for you? And what would it have felt like to have someone ask, not "What's wrong with you?" but "What do you need?" You have that power now to offer that gift to your child and to yourself. Behavior is not the enemy. It's a clue, a window, a whisper saying, "Look closer." The next time your child's behavior feels overwhelming, take a breath, slow down, and wonder what might be hiding underneath. Some simple strategies for this moment, inspired by Trust-Based Relational Intervention, or TBRI, would be to connect before we correct. Lower your voice. Get on their level. Name the feeling. It looks like you're feeling really frustrated right now. Offer choices. Would you like to stomp your feet with me here or squeeze this pillow? Behavior shifts when needs are acknowledged, not dismissed. What would change if the next time behavior flares up, you paused, not to control, but to connect? Behavior is only the tip of the iceberg. Underneath every outburst, every withdrawal, every resistance is a story, a need, a feeling, a hope. When you stay curious about what's underneath, you give your child and yourself the gift of being known and understood. That's where healing begins. Trust is built, and wholehearted living grows. That small act of curiosity can change everything. And I know this podcast is about childhood and the Enneagram, so stay tuned, because the Enneagram is going to give us greater insight as we help uncover the stories behind the behavior. If you'd like more tools, you can find reflections and strategies inside The Wholehearted Child and the companion workbooks. Learn more at my website, thewholeheartedchild.com. Thank you for joining me today and for the courageous, wholehearted work you are doing, both for your children and for your own inner child. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and stay curious about the stories beneath the surface. Thanks for joining me today on Childhood and the Enneagram. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need a little encouragement. To dive deeper into healing childhood stories through connection and the Enneagram, be sure to check out my book, The Wholehearted Child, and visit thewholeheartedchild.com. Until next time, remember, the stories we carry don't define us. We have the power to heal, to grow, and to impact the next generation.